Hi, I'm Donna Martini. I can't see you, but you can see me. I'm so happy that you joined. I'm so sorry I'm late. And we just had a technical difficulty with Facebook, even after practicing for like 3 times already this week. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about positive manipulation, and it's actually a innate ability that you already have, but maybe you don't know how to use it, or maybe you don't even realize that it's something that you do. It's a way to manipulate energy. And so the reason why I came up with this phrase was many years ago when I was going through my divorce. I noticed that I was manipulating myself, my words, my actions to try to be more loving, even though the divorce was very contentious and it was a very difficult time. I wanted it to end up really well for my kids. And so I wanted to end up loving my ex-husband in the end, and I wanted him to stay loving towards me because it meant a lot to me to make sure that my kids didn't go through my divorce in a negative way. You know, if I was seeking my happiness, I didn't want to break up my family and make them miserable in the process. So I thought about what I should say and do every minute of the day. You know, I wanted to not alienate him. I wanted to just keep the love there. And one day I was walking down the street with a friend and I was telling her what was going on, and she got really angry at me. And she said, it sounds like you're manipulating him because you're acting like you still love him. And I said, well, I'm not acting. I do still love him, but, I don't want to stay married to him. I said, I'm just, trying to be the most positive I can. She says, well, it's manipulation. And I said, well, it is manipulation. It's positive manipulation because the end result is going to be really good for the family. So I found out later on that she was actually looking she wanted to date my husband. So that's probably why she was getting mad at me. But it stuck in my mind that I was doing this process for a really good reason. I created a goal, and my motive was for the sake of my kids. And that's what led me on this journey. This was many years ago, by the way. It was in the 1990s, the early 1990s. And ever since then, I've been practicing this and learning more about it and understanding about the process that we all can use. We do it probably on a daily basis, probably minute to minute at certain points. Driving down the highway and somebody cuts you off, and maybe you want to ram into the back end of their car, but you don't. Maybe you want to curse at them, but you don't. Maybe you do. But the point is that we're usually keeping ourselves back from doing something that we might want to do, but we know it's not appropriate. We know it's not going to be a good outcome. So we manipulate ourselves and stop ourselves from doing the wrong thing. And so that is what this process is all about. So I'm a wellness coach, and I teach people how to tap into their higher power. And I use the word wellness because I wouldn't even presume to know how you should be living your life. But I might be able to help you tap into what blocks you may have and that are preventing you from getting to your best life and what you believe you should be doing with your body, with your job and your career and your relationships and everything else. So wellness seems to be the best word. If anybody can think of a better term after hearing me out tonight, then I'm looking to give anybody who can name me a free book. So if wellness coach is not really suited to me anymore, I would really like to get another kind of phrase to say what I am and what I do. But I'm kind of stuck. I don't really know what to call myself. At any rate, I would love to start the presentation. I'm hoping that other people from Facebook can find us because we're having those technical difficulties. But at any rate, I'm Donna Martini, and I'm going to be screen sharing right now. Okay. And I see that people on Facebook are mentioning me and they're not able to come on. So I also don't have the ability to share right now. Let's see. Let's see if we can try it. And I'm going to move this. Bear with me here. This is the first time we're doing this. Charity, are you still with us? I guess not. I can't hear anybody.
Yes, ma'am. I'm still here with you, of course.
Good. And do we have anybody else?
Very quiet. I'm sorry.
Do we have anybody still coming on board?
Nope. We still have 3 attendees right now.
There's people on Facebook that are not able to come on, so maybe you can get in touch with them while I keep going?
Sure, absolutely.
That'll be great. That'll be great. All right. So, positive manipulation. It is a provocative term. I've gotten in trouble for it through the years but you know what? It's good that it's provocative. I think it's necessary to be provocative sometimes because it wakes us up, right? So how do we feel about the word manipulation? I bet some of you think it's kind of negative, but in actuality, manipulation is not a dirty word. And if I gave you a piece of clay and I said, hey, form it and just manipulate it into the shape of a dog, okay, you wouldn't even think twice about it. You just take the clay and you'd start shaping it into whatever form that you perceive a dog to be. So it really means to manage and control. It's just a very simple word that's found in the dictionary, and the first definition is no negative connotations whatsoever. The second one, yeah, we all our more famous definition would be to manipulate someone else in a negative way. And that's not what we're talking about here at all, not even in the slightest. It's positive first and foremost, and manipulation second. And it's basically the act of physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually trying to recreate the energy we're generating. So if we're thinking something negative, we want to change it to positive. If we're feeling something negative, we want to change it to a positive. If we're not being able to get spiritually connected because our mind, body, or whatever is just too messed up, well, then we want to manipulate whatever that is to get to our best state of being. That's all this is about. So your physical body can be manipulated. Your emotions can be manipulated. Your mental attitude, and it should be. Every day we should be manipulating that energy, because if we just decide to allow for our energy to be what it is without any input, then we never really can see just how powerful we can be, just how spiritually connected we can get. And it's all about that. It's all about trying to see, instead of just dealing with a come what may day, we really want to be able to produce the day that we want to live. All right. And so sometimes we're not able to do so, and there are reasons for it. And that's what tonight's about. Tonight's about like positive manipulation 101 and understanding what we're made of, and what we are trying to accomplish here is to be able to say no to that ego side of our brain and yes to the soul. So if you have goals and you're not able to reach them, tonight you're going to maybe figure out why. At least you're going to understand the process better. And that's the whole goal. The motive is so that we can all stay more in tune with our own goodness and our own power. And that would make our whole world a lot better place. I'm sure everybody would agree, right? By the way, we're going to be able to answer a lot of questions, so write things down if you don't understand what I'm saying. And I'm really sorry to any of the people who are coming in late to this or coming from Facebook. I'll try to answer any questions while we're done with the slides. It's not going to take long to get through them, and then I really want to be able to coach people or help them in their own situations. If they want to come on and ask questions, we're going to open up to the meeting to everybody, and we'll be able to do that right online, okay? Live. All right. So PM, not about manipulating another person, but when we go through the process of manipulating ourselves, we're actually manipulating the energy between ourselves and the other person. So think about it this way. If someone was talking to you and they were angry or whatever, and they're acting out of their own human side, their own human ego, and you were reacting the same way, and you got ego to ego, and you're banging it out with one another, head to head, that would be basically the worst case scenario. But if someone was coming after you in an ego way, and you decided you wanted to act better than that, you decided you wanted to try to pour love on the situation because you see it's not going to end well anyway if you do it ego to ego. The second that you decide to do that, you've already changed the relationship between yourself and the other person. You've already changed the energy between the two of you. And at that moment in time, that other person has the opportunity to maybe snap out of their human self and into more soul. So if you were to go ego, there's no real opportunity unless one person decides to lift out and do better. And that's what the positive manipulation process is about. It's about deciding at any given moment to change your mind or your heart about something, to change your body so that you can be more spiritually connected and more in tune with a cleaner head and a cleaner body. So it's about achieving ground zero. Sometimes we're below ground zero. Our body and mind are not in tune. And we can't possibly hear anything better than the negative state that we're in. Okay? There's lots of things that can keep us below ground zero. at least at ground zero, our mind and body are at even keel with one another, and they're as healthy as they can be in that moment. And at that point, we can definitely go to the next level. And that is when we can tap into the power of our soul. Okay. And then once we tap into the power of our soul, that's where we can go for the rise. Okay. If our bodies and our minds are definitely running below and running amok and not in tune with any kind of power at all, it'll be harder to tap into the soul. But guess what? That's usually the time when we're our most powerful, when we really truly let go and we say, okay, I'm a mess. I'm either sick or I've been hurt and betrayed, or I'm in a terrible state of mind and body right now. But I always know I have the soul to rely on. I always know I have that extra power. So sometimes when we let go completely of our body and completely of our mind, and we just decide, I'm not doing very well my own way, I'm going to pull in on the soul power. That's actually a really good time. But sometimes we're in the middle of a quandary where we're angry and want to stay angry, or where our body is filled with the wrong foods and we're a mess. And we can't get to our soul power. We can't turn on that higher knowing. We can't say, hey, there's a better way. Instead, we're stuck. Well, this is what positive manipulation is about. Creating the goal and the motive to be the best we can be for the sake of our children, for our sake of ourselves, for the sake of world mankind. This is where we need to go in order to lift ourselves out when we get to that point where we're kind of below ground zero. So you get the idea of what positive manipulation is. Now I need to talk to you about what energy is. Most people will say, when I ask them the question, do you know what energy is? They'll say, yeah, and I would love to get more of it because I'm tired all the time. So yeah, that is a form of energy. Burning calories is a form of energy. And our body puts out that kind of energy and exertion energy. But there's way more to energy than meets the eye, okay? We are basically made out of 3 types of energy. And they are light, sound, and scalar. So we know what light energy is, and we also know that without the sun, we wouldn't survive. Nothing would grow. The whole earth would basically not be able to function. Light energy is super powerful, and we're made of light energy. Who knew? All right, but it's true. Sound energy, we're about the sound. We're made of that, and it makes sense. Just like the idea of being in tune with sound, and even if you are not able to hear, you can still feel sound because it's a frequency and a vibration. Okay, it's why when we say mantras, and this is the reason why I wrote the book, my mini book of mighty mantras, which is right here. I wrote it because we literally can heal ourselves through sound of our own voice. We can heal ourselves through vibrational sound. I don't know if you can hear that. We can heal ourselves through music and drumming and all kinds of things. And this has been scientifically proven, but since the beginning of time, this has been going on. And so the way our children are raised, the way they're brought up, and the way they start out in the womb, connecting through sound energy. And we have nature. Nature gives the most amazing and beautiful sounds. And so when we connect with that, we kind of have this really amazing vibration that takes us to another dimension. Okay. And that's because we're part of nature. We're made out of the same materials as nature, the same nutrients and minerals and everything else. But also, so the earth is made of sound and light energy as well. And so are we. Okay. And of course, we have music. Music is, oh my gosh, that's one of the first healing mechanisms I think that humans ever had was drumming. Okay. So let's talk about what scalar energy is. Now, I barely have an understanding of scalar energy. It's not easy to understand. It wasn't even discovered until like maybe the early part of the 19th century. And there is Tesla, who's not the one who originally created it, or not created it, but discovered it, but he actually named it radiant energy, which is a really good way for us to start, because the understanding of what a radiant energy is, it's different than an energy that's linear, and an energy that's depicted with a frequency. Scalar energy can't be depicted that way. You know, we see sound and with waves, and we see light waves. We know what that is. This can't really be measured unless there's no tool yet that can really super measure it. And it's a static energy, which you know how light travels, right? But this one doesn't. This emanates out, but it doesn't travel. It's more stationary. Doesn't mean it can't be, it's not like a rock sitting on the ground. In fact, we can create scalar energy wherever we go, wherever it moves with us. Okay. And it has the capacity to carry information. Now, this is really cool because we just recently discovered that our DNA can carry information outside of ourselves. Our genetic structure can be left outside of our bodies. I'm going to give you some information on how to look that up because that research is blowing my mind. But it makes sense if we think about that we're made of this part of this energy, because if you think about how our souls may have been here before, if you think about how, you know, karma and how we carry energy from maybe possibly from lifetimes, or if you think about how our souls would know so much about everything in the universe, then it's kind of cool to think about scalar energy and the potential there. And then my favorite, it doesn't decay, and it doesn't have a weakness through distance. So basically it's always powerful, you know, it's always there. So I meditate on the idea of what scalar energy is, and I try to figure out what that would look like, or how I can teach people about what it might feel like or seem like. And it's sort of made me think of an apple pie. And I don't know why that an apple pie came to my mind, but if you think about an apple pie, once you bake it, the smell of that apple pie permeates the entire house. It's sort of a radiating kind of energy. You can't see it, but you definitely get affected by it. It can change you. It can change the way you're smelling. It could touch into our memories. I don't know if people realize that smell is the biggest trigger for memories. It reaches the olfactory center, you know, and that is part of the most ancient part of taps into the most ancient part of our brain. So there's a lot of things about like this apple pie analogy that kind of made me feel that scalar energy might be similar, because if we have scalar energy, we are actually emanating out something at all times. And so what is that something? And if it can be created, then are we able to create something with our genetic structure and or our mind and hearts that other people can feel, and that potentially is creating space for us to walk through into our future? I know, sounds crazy, sounds bizarre, sounds powerful, but let's see. Let's try to see how we can figure this out. So what are our physical bodies made of? Well, we are just a bunch of molecules. That's all we are, water molecules to be exact. And we are actually 97.3% water molecules. So your body has about 60-something% water. But science recently discovered that even your bones are water molecules. And this is really bizarre, because why? Why would your bones be water molecules? But when you start to think about what is in the atmosphere and what is between us and everything else, and you start to wonder, because the air has water molecules, I mean, we're surrounded by it, right? Is this potentially how we communicate with one another? At least I always thought it could be a possibility. And there is a scientist, his name was Dr. Masaru Emoto, who discovered that water molecules, when he took it to just about freezing point, he was able to get them crystallized and take pictures of them. And he discovered that when he attaches emotion to these water crystals, it changes the shape of the water crystal. So that whole idea that we can talk to our plants and they grow better may very well be about lovingly talking to a plant and communicating through water, through the air, okay, or the idea that we are communicating to a plant. We both share water molecules, okay? This is scientifically studied. This is real life stuff. Dr. Masaru Emoto, he created a book that you can actually look at. It's The Hidden Messages in Water. And you can see the difference in the water molecules that he spoke to in a beautiful way, and about love and about goodness. And they all made beautiful crystals. And then when he spoke negative words like hatred and I'm going to kill you, he created really ugly, unformed, like almost mutilated, almost barely able to even form a crystal. So the idea that we can generate emotion that affects one another, we know this. We know that when someone else is in a negative mood, they're affecting us right away. Is it because our mind is thinking negative, or is it because our body is being affected? We always thought the opposite, but it's really, truly, the first thing that gets hit is your body. And then you're relating that to, it's why it's so hard to overcome yourself when you get angry and when someone's pissing you off, because the body reacts so vehemently to negativity. And then you have to talk your mind out of it. So this is really a very cool thing about water. If you want to learn more about how water travels, how it carries information, you can take a screenshot of this. This is a website that you may be able to find some good information on. I actually really do a lot of research for the last, I don't know how many years, about water. I find it fascinating, but I also have a water issue in my body. My kidneys and my heart don't communicate very well with one another. They actually send the wrong message. So when I stand up, the water and fluid in my body pulls down. I also have a really hard time with with different cells in my body being able to contain fluid. The fluid likes to run interstitially in between the cells. So I have this issue that I've had since I was a teenager, and I've been researching. And it came to me, like, I don't know how many years ago, I realized that maybe the idea that I have this extra fluid gives me an ability to be able to communicate better with people, to be able to feel more and sense more. And so there's a possibility there that we can, based on our fluid level, be more in tune if we have, or if we are more hydrated than if we're dehydrated. So think about that. Okay. So if I am water molecules and you are more water molecules and there's water molecules between us, okay? If I am light, sound, and scalar energy and you are light, sound, and scalar energy and there's light, sound, and scalar energy between us, then what is the potential then for that we are separated? And we're not separated. We are all one. There's really nothing between us. Not even our skin is keeping us from being connected. Energetically speaking, that's where that whole idea of being one came from. There really is nothing on a cellular level keeping us. We're as individual as you think we are, because we're generating our own electromagnetic frequencies based on what's going on in our bodies and our mind and our hearts. But we are still sharing everything on a molecular level. Pretty cool, right? So possibilities for some good stuff to go on and possibility for some not so good stuff. So before we can get to what potential there is for some good stuff, I was thinking we need to really talk about the four aspects of the human body. Okay, we're a human being, what we are. We are physical beings. We are emotional beings. We are mental beings. And of course, we are spiritual beings. That's my favorite. But, we can't be spiritual all the time, because if we were, we would not be existing in our human body. In fact, being too spiritual and spiritual addiction can make us very flighty and not in touch with reality. If we were very grounded and very human, then we're not able to lift, we're not able to rise, we're not able to tap into spiritual. So basically, we want to be in balance. We want to be in an amazing place where we're able to tap in when we want, but we're able to still live here, function, and be in really great balance. So each one of those aspects affects our existence differently, and each one of those aspects affects the other. So you can't have something going on in one without it triggering another, or maybe throwing one out of whack. If it came down to it, if everything was out of whack, we would always have our spiritual selves. Spiritual self doesn't ever go away. It always stays the same. It's that energetic aspect to ourselves, and it doesn't change. So that's really cool. But if your brain is so fried and your mind is not really there and your body's very out of whack, and your emotionals are really off, then how are you going to tap in? So that's what positive manipulation is all about. We got to get to that point where we're creating a goal, maybe first thing in the morning, to be ourselves. So the job of manipulating ourselves back into power becomes easier and easier and easier. In order to do that, though, we got to like decide what may be preventing us from being always feeling good, always being happy, and always being able to get through our life episodes without tapping into negative or just happening to us, right? So what creates imbalance in the human body and the human psyche? I'm sure you know already what creates imbalance in yourself, but maybe there's things that you didn't know about. We have issues that are just now truthfully being discovered. I mean, medicine didn't know how much food related to our moods until like the last few decades. And I mean, Hippocrates knew thousands of years ago. He was the father of medicine, and he understood how food affected us. But doctors take the Hippocratic Oath, but they don't necessarily study anything else that Hippocrates wrote, because they spend like 10 minutes in medical school learning about food and how it relates to the body and the psyche. And any doctor will tell you that. They barely spend any time at all on that in med school. So who's really there then to help and guide us when food is affecting us, or when any other part of our body is going haywire? We only know how to treat disease. We don't necessarily know how to heal. We haven't been taught that. And doctors don't heal us. We need to heal ourselves. They treat disease and they're very good at it, but it's up to us to bring our body back to balance. So we have our internal environment and we have our external environment. And we have a lot of things that are going on in the human mind and body. And what all those things come down to is, into biochemistry and into energies and into different, factors, okay, environmental or whatever, that can make you feel either more strong or more powerful or less powerful. So food is like the number one, I would say, because we are what we eat. We are nothing more than our chemicals in our body. And food is just chemicals on a plate. Think about it. If one person can eat a peanut and get a good form of protein, and another person can eat a peanut and get a nasal allergy, and another person can eat a peanut and die. So every single thing in what we eat in our plates and plates of food and the drink that we consume has a potential for changing our biochemistry, which changes our being. Okay? It'll change your body, which can change your mind and everything else. This is the truth. Our relationships, we talked about how connected we are. So if we care about someone and they're in a negative state of being, we might be empathetically, jiving with them day in and day out. And that brings us down, instead of the idea that we lift up so that we can help them come up. We sort of go the other way. It's not really a fault or blame scenario either. This is how we are as humans. All right. So relationships are super, have a real impact on us in our day-to-day life. Coworkers, children, everybody. It's really hard to stay positive when one of your children is sick or not doing well. I have clients, so many clients over the last few years whose children are either on drugs or they're suicidal. They're full of anxiety. The parents, how do you be happy when your child is so unhappy or you're so afraid for them? So relationships really affect our ability to stay stable and our ability to tap into anything other than the emotion that our situation is putting us in, right? Trauma. People don't realize, we know PTSD, we know post-traumatic stress disorder, we understand it with our veterans, we understand it maybe with our police officers, but we don't get that it also affects us, that we could go through a trauma incident in our childhood, even something, like losing a dog or witnessing an accident or being hurt in some way by a parent or sibling, or even at school. These are all can be taken in as a little trauma episode. We can also call it post-traumatic syndrome, which is like a secondary version of that, where it's a drama episode that just keeps sticking with us. That can affect your present day. Okay, medications that we're on, obviously that's going to affect us and numbify us or make us act differently. And depending on everybody's body, you never know how a medicine's going to react because it's different in everyone. Okay, betrayal. This is something really crazy that I'm putting this on here, but betrayal is such a powerful, impactful episode in our life that it literally can stay with us forever if we don't heal out of it. And it could taint us for the rest of our lives, especially if it happened when we were very young, okay, in our childhood. Culture and race, how we're raised, the things we think about, all our different cultures are teaching us different things, the different foods that are attached to those different cultures. It's on and on and on. The mindset, the behaviors, all of that will affect who we are in any given moment. Our DNA, we talked about that. Our DNA is super powerful to dictate a lot of what's going on in our bodies, but we've learned now that it doesn't necessarily have to. Our DNA can be changed. It changes from trauma. Go back to trauma. It changes from different things that we put our bodies through and our minds through. So that means, though, that we can change it back, which is a good thing. Epigenetic inheritance, that is when our DNA, our genetic structure is changed due to traumas we go through. So they did a study on the Holocaust victims, and they discovered that those who survived, their DNA changed so drastically from all of the horror that they went through. Well, they had children and grandchildren, and apparently that same genetic change was passed down. So now you have other generations who are feeling the same emotions that the people who went through the Holocaust felt, except they don't have the episode to attach to it. They didn't go through the Holocaust. They didn't go through those horrific episodes, but they feel and are triggered in some of the same ways. That's think about this. As we go back to slavery, we can go back to all kinds of horrific things that happened throughout the beginning of time, and we can see how things can be passed down genetically. Now, the crazy part about this, which is also the good part, is if we know that we can change our genetic structure, is it possible for a generation like that now understands this to be able to go and change our genetic structure so that our future generations don't have the same exact genetic structure or predisposition for certain things? Forget disease, that's one thing, but what about emotions? Are we inheriting our emotions too? I think it runs in my family. We all have anxiety, so I'm just wondering if that was passed down. I don't think it was behavior watching. I think it was more about what comes naturally and innately within us, which could actually be on a genetic level. And our environment, of course, we talked about that. There's tons and tons of stuff in our environment and beyond just what we see in our own little room, because that's all generating an energy. Think about it this way. Think about if you're waking up every day and your house is trashed. How are you waking up every day and functioning? So it could be something as simple as that to where you're going to work every day. If that's trash and you can't function at your job because of the environment, that's a big deal. But then there's also the outside environment, everything from pollution to our electromagnetic frequencies. So there's so much that's running through our minds and our bodies in a day that would imbalance us and keep us from actually being the best we can be. And this list is just partial. I can keep going all night just on that, but I won't. Okay, so I'm going to try to get out of this. Oh, it's not allowed. Oh, there we go. Mental. So let's go to each one separately: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And we'll start with the brain. We'll start with the mental, and we'll ask the question, are we our thoughts? Because many people think that they are what they think. They think that whatever they're thinking is who they are. And this is easy to do. We get stuck in a negative mindset, and we get stuck thinking that our life sucks or our relationship sucks or whatever because we're unhappy. And we don't understand that our thoughts are actually creating the future we walk into. You can't help but walk into a future that you are mentally and emotionally preparing for. So if you're preparing for fear and anxiety and all kinds of negative stuff in those thought processes, like I'm going to have a car accident, I'm going to hit traffic, my kid's going to be not going to do well, whatever these thought processes are, this is the future you start walking into. So you become your thoughts, but you're not your thoughts. In fact, you're nowhere near your thoughts. You can be anything you want to be other than the thoughts. Right? We're going to explain how that actually happens. So is our mind the same as our brain? A lot of people ask me this question because we know we have those terms, mind, body, soul. And we wonder what the mind is. But the mind is actually not the brain. I mean, you need a brain to have a mind, but it's not that your mind encompasses all of the brain. That's it. There's a lot more going on there. And this is what's really cool about the mind. It's something that's created. It's that mind, body, soul is this triad. It's an incorporated kind of sense of being. So in other words, you can't live on the earth without a body, okay? If you didn't have a soul, that wouldn't look very good. That wouldn't come out very well. I would think that if somebody doesn't have a soul, this is how they're just so disconnected from their soul that they might be a sociopath. And of course, the mind is what pulls it all together and lets you be able to balance and live the life that you want to lead, okay? Make it a productive life or make it whatever, come what may life. So, our brain contains, I'm going to read this for you, about 86 billion nerve cells, which are called neurons, all right? And that's really considered the gray matter. And it also contains billions of nerve fibers, which are called axons and dendrites. And now that's the white matter. Now the neurons are able to interact with one another through a trillions of connections called synapses. So basically right now you are running at a certain amount of synapses in your brains. You have the same kind of synapses probably happening every day because you're doing the same things every day for the last how many years. And this is what we're going to try to talk about. Every day you're waking up and you maybe have one negative thought that you haven't been able to get rid of. It's because your brain has made synapses on this. You know how to make your coffee. You know how to use your coffee machine. All of a sudden you get a new coffee machine. Now you're like out of whack. You can't figure out how to use that machine. Or you have a new computer. Or you have whatever. Some people get excited about new things. Other people can't stand it because it makes their brain work harder. It's just too challenging. I can't even stand when Facebook changes the page, okay, and the way it looks, because it's like, well, I can't find anything. And it's because it's like a little agonizing over the brain. But guess what? Creating new synapses is important. Positive manipulation cannot be achieved. You can't achieve a new positive thought unless you override the negative. So you have to create a new synapses in your brain in order to do that. Okay, so there's lots of ways we can do that. And of course, mantras are one of them. Like I said in my mini book of Mighty Mantras, there's 396 of them. And I wrote the book just to overcome my own negative thoughts and negative beliefs. And so I wanted to be able to share them in easy format. That's why I wrote the book. And that's just one way we can help change our brain, is by repeating the positive over and over again. But these new synapses, we have to create them. So our brain is what is helping us to think, and it's where our information is stored. But it's not our mind. Our mind, is what we would extract the information we need to be able to utilize it. So the brain would have you scratch your face if there was an itch because you have poison ivy. But your mind would say, don't scratch the poison ivy, even though it itches, because you're going to spread it or you're going to create a scar. So you see the difference between the brain and the mind? Now, the only reason why the mind would know that is because the brain stored that information, okay? Or you ask the question, should I scratch this because I want to do what's right at this moment? And if you say that, you might actually hear a little voice that says, don't scratch it, you're going to scar your face. There's also information coming in from accumulative energy that we talked about before. We don't know everything, but sometimes we just know a lot, and we don't know why we know. Well, that's the dimension of scalar energy we're talking about that we can connect to with other people. But that's a whole other conversation. So let's stick with our brain and our mind and try to figure out what is a poison ivy story, and try to figure out what we have going on in our brain that would preclude us from being able to live the life we want, okay? So this is Dr. JoeDispenza. I love Dr. JoeDispenza. I recommend him highly to anyone who wants to learn more about this. He's a quantum physicist, like master teacher, all right? He teaches everything there is to teach about these philosophies, and he does it so much better than I do. I'm just trying to translate a little bit so that you can get an idea of why we would want to manipulate ourselves and what's going on in the process and why our bodies act the way they do. But he would be able to go really in depth to tell you about how you can actually heal yourself. And he's the one I went to when I had Crohn's disease, and I wanted to take total responsibility for that disease. It happened late in life. I was 48 years old when I got diagnosed. And I knew that I wasn't going to go on meds because I'm the wellness coach extraordinaire, and I was living the quintessential life. So how could I possibly get Crohn's disease? And when I asked that question to my higher power, I actually heard, because you were everybody else's coach and you weren't your own. And I did not listen to my gut when my gut would say, don't do that, or don't hurt yourself this way, or whatever. I was always doing for other people and ignoring my gut. So guess what? My gut started saying, hey, we're not going to operate anymore. We're going to get disease and we're going to get sick because your goal is to be the best you can be. And you can't keep being the best you can be if you keep up this behavior. And so long story short, I decided I was going to heal from Crohn's, and I used Dr. JoeDispenza's books and his teachings, and I went to a seminar, one of his seminars or two, and I did extremely well with it, and I literally healed myself. I'm in total remission. Who knows if I even have Crohn's? I don't act like I do. I'm on no drugs. Okay. I should be on some of the toughest drugs you can possibly imagine. And I said no to them, even though my doctor was literally yelling at me. I think she fired me as her patient because I wouldn't go on those drugs. And I said, you know what? I'm going to listen to the higher part of myself, the part of myself that knows it can heal, the part of myself that keeps my heart pumping and keeps my blood flowing. I'm going to tune into that. And I'm going to be kind to this disease because it's teaching me something. And I'm going to be kind to the area of my body that's in such agony. And I'm going to love it even more and embrace it. And as soon as I did, that's when the disease went away. And this is the truth. And I can do a whole other seminar on that one day. But in the meantime, if you just listen to this process, I promise I will lead and guide you if this healing is what you want to do, or even helping to heal a child or a spouse or whoever. We can do this process on our loved ones. Okay. We can actually help them just the way we would help ourselves. Don't forget, we all share energy, which means that your prayers, your meditations, and everything you're doing tonight even will affect them as well. All right. So back to JoeDispenza. He says, we think somewhere between 60 and 70,000 thoughts in one day, and 90% of those thoughts are exactly the same as we had the day before. This is what we were talking about. So if we want to, override those thoughts, we have to do a lot to do that. We only need to make the decision, and then the rest of it will start to come. But we have to be able to say that now, here and now, I am willing to do the work. I am planning on being the best I can be. I am absolutely 100% a positive thinker. And we just keep on saying that. And we take the days, each day that comes, we acknowledge what may be coming up that's negative, and then we sort of manipulate out of it. So this is how we're going to be doing that too. All right, we got to make a decision that we're going to be in autopilot or living an intentional life. Okay, that's basically what we're doing if we're letting our past memories and our past thoughts dictate our present time and our future. Okay, unless we change it, the future is going to be exactly the same as the past. We got to be able to change out of that. So we got to take advantage of our brain and utilize our mind. So our brain, we know how it functions. We know we have to give it information. We have to feed it, and we have to reverse some of the stuff that's been done from the past. How do we do that? How do we break it down and actually do that? Okay. Let's go to emotional real quick and just discover what's going on in that side of ourselves. And we're going to ask the question, what comes first, a thought or an emotion? So there's all these theories about this. Different people say different things. I say both can happen. I say that, we can feel scared all of a sudden, and then just like we're instinctual beings, and all of a sudden we'll get a thought like what's there to be afraid of, and then we'll look over and we'll see something going on, and we'll say, oh, that's why I feel scared. We can feel angry all of a sudden and turn around and look online at the grocery store, and there's somebody who's literally having, about to engage in a fight with the cashier. So we can also have a thought, okay, that can be turning into an emotion. That happens all the time. I know it happens for me all the time, and I'm going to show you an example of that in a minute. But I wanted to ask the question, like, is our heart generating our emotions? And the truth is that our heart does pump out all of that magnetic frequencies. Our brain is producing the electromagnetic frequencies, and when we bring the two together, we actually have a feeling. So we have a thought, we have an emotion, and then together it creates a feeling that actually acts as an electromagnetic frequency. Okay, and that's what we're sharing between one another. So science also says we can create a thought that can generate a feeling. So if you're having a negative feeling, you can literally change that by saying you're happy. In fact, our brain, okay, works in a way where if you're unhappy, your brain sends a signal to your face to frown. So if nobody really, and if you're happy, then it will send a signal to your face to smile. But we found not that long ago that it works in reverse. So if you were to smile and force yourself to smile, it triggers your brain that you're happy. And if you force yourself to frown, it will let you know that you're unhappy. So this sounds crazy, but this is science. This is not me talking. This is the way your body works. And maybe it's It seems silly and maybe even too simplistic, but you know what? We don't have to think about how our heart beats or our blood pumps or anything else, and we just function. All right. We don't think about our digestive, tract and how that has to work. Unless we're sick, of course, like somebody like me with Crohn's disease would really be in tune with that. But for the most part, you're just eating and then discharging it. So why, it's so simple. That's so simple. Why would it be difficult to change our mind? I don't think it is. I think it's just a matter of doing this and then deciding that we're going to do that and then practicing it. Practice, 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 because don't forget, it took us a long time to get into that negative state. It's going to take us a little while to get out of it, but it's still totally possible, right? So here's how it happens. We're laying in bed at night. We're ready to go to sleep. All of a sudden, a thought about money pops up into our head. Maybe we thought about work the next day. Maybe we thought about paying our bills. Maybe we figured out what date it was and something is due. Who knows? Then thoughts about paying our bills will start maybe making us a little bit uptight, and we're wondering, are you going to be able to pay the money? Do we have enough money to pay our bills? Then we might have thoughts about losing our job. What if I lost my job? Then I wouldn't be able to pay my bills at all. And we'll go on and on. We'll create this whole story. By the time we're done, it's a minute or two later, and we're in full-blown anxiety. Okay, we got there so fast based on one thought. Okay, and so now I want you to think about this. You could be laying in bed at night and by yourself and have these thoughts all of a sudden. But what if you're watching television? What if you have commercial after commercial after commercial coming on, like one that's talking about drugs if you have cancer, and one that's telling you about, your identity theft, and one that's telling you about the insurance that you need because you have a car accident. Imagine what all those thoughts are doing, and imagine the energy and the feelings that are generated, and imagine what you need to manipulate out of in a day. So this is like the train that goes from the brain all the way through to the body. And you should know that every single thing that you're thinking and every single thing that you're feeling is resonating with every single part of your body on a cellular level. Okay, it's pouring through. So you basically become whatever you're thinking. So if you're anxiety ridden, your whole body is anxiety ridden. All right. But the cool part about it is that you can change out of that. You can go back the other way. As you're laying in bed and anxiety sets in, you can say, all is at peace right now. All is good. I have faith in the powers that be. I believe in me. I have an amazing job. I love my job. My job makes me powerful. My job brings me all my money. My bills are paid. I have abundance. I am part of an abundant universe, and everything in the world is at my disposal. And then all of a sudden, now you're falling asleep and you're back into positive. That's the process of positive manipulation. And it has to happen with us. There's no other way that's going to go away. We started the process, we can get rid of it. Okay. And this is what we need to practice, though, because the more we practice, the less we have to do it. And the faster it happens, too. The faster we get to convert it over to positive. Okay, so what would be our basic human emotions? So this dude, the psychologist Paul Ekman, he said there was like 6 basic emotions that are universally experienced in all human cultures. Okay, we talked about culture before, that different people with different things, different states, different countries. But basically, he's saying that we all have about these 6. So here they are. Happiness. Okay, I guess that would be anger. I don't know about babies having anger, but I guess sadness, surprise, disgust, and fear. So I always think about babies because babies aren't tainted yet. So how would they know of anything if they didn't already have it innately within them? So happiness. We all know a baby who smiles and giggles. Did they get that from us, or did they come with that? Anger, disgust, like what would that translate to? Would it be judgment, or would it just be like you're eating peas for the first time, you're like, ugh, these are gross? I'm thinking that might be what disgust means on that level. Of course, we know it as humans, as we get older, we can create a lot of scenarios around the word disgust, all right? And the sadness, well, that's pretty easy. I think anybody would be sad if they were just connected from what really makes them happy, right? It's like the absence of happiness. And fear, I think that's primal. To be honest, I think that's just a primal emotion that everybody has. Any animal would have that. And it's just a self-protective, what would be that word? Oh, sorry. I'm going to have some water because I may need it. When you are protecting yourself, preservation, self-preservation. See, the water worked. That's because we're water molecules, so it works like that, right? Instantly. All right, so let's talk a little bit about then what we're generating when we have these emotions. What's going on, okay? You see here a picture of a heart radiating energy. This is exactly what's going on. That scalar energy we talked about, it radiates out. It's like an aura that comes from us. And whatever emotion we are in, this can literally be measured. That can be measured, like the intensity of it, and it can come out from beyond us. So I wanted just to tell you a little bit about the heart, because it's the most powerful source of electromagnetic energy in the human body, and it produces the largest rhythmic electromagnetic field of any of the body's organs, even more than the brain. Okay, it's about 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity generated by the brain. Now that's amazing. And they've done tons of studies too, where they've actually put people in front of a computer and they showed them pictures, and the pictures then registered with an emotion. They showed a picture of a car accident. They had a kind of dread emotion. If they saw a picture of a little puppy, they had a happy emotion. So they were able to attach electrodes to a person and measure their brain activity with their emotional activity. Well, here's the deal. They would put the picture up, and this is random. The pictures were coming out of the computer, and no one knew. Even the people who were operating the test didn't even know what picture was going to come up. And they were measuring the people with their emotion, and the emotion was coming up before the picture. Now, a split second before the picture, the person was generating an emotion, which means that our heart is faster than even our brain. It doesn't even make sense, but it's true. So, I always compare this too is with the idea that we create an intention to love. And when we do, even if we're in the middle of a horrible fight with someone, if we were to say at that moment, I want to love you, or if we would have thought, I want to love you, in that split second, the energy is already there. We're already emanating the love and giving the other person the opportunity to bring the love back towards us. So this is like insane scientific discoveries that we're not utilizing. We're not even like contemplating this in our daily life, but the fact that our heart can change our energy, it can radiate out and affect other people. And then it can affect our day and affect our future. That seems like incredulous, but it's really true. It's really true. So every tissue and organ in our body produces an electromagnetic frequency that can be measured, and they call that our biomagnetic fields. So everything that we do, though, affects those biomagnetic fields. Do you ever go in a room and you say, wow, that person has such great energy. I love that person's energy. And then you walk up to somebody and you're like, ugh, can't handle it. It feels gross, or it feels like a terrible state of being. Well, that's what we're talking about here. It's something that can be felt. And of course, we put a judgment with it. Wouldn't it be great, though, if we felt someone's energy and it felt really gross to us, and instead of walking away and judging it, okay, as that disgust, we would instead say, you know what, I'm going to pour some love over here. I'm going to generate my heart energy right now, pour out some love in hopes that they might be able to attach to it and utilize it if that's their desire. Again, we're not manipulating the other person. We're manipulating ourselves. We're going from disgust to love so that we can help someone else. And at the same time, we're helping ourselves, because the more positive energy we surround ourselves with, the more we're going to lift as well. Okay, because it's all cumulative. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so new research shocks scientists human emotion physically shapes our reality. You got to read this in order to believe it, okay? And you can go to lifecoachcode.com and see this article and just read it, because it's too much for me to go into it. 3 different scientific studies, and the science behind it is a little complicated, but basically what it comes down to is what I said before. We can't help but walk into the future that we are mentally and emotionally preparing for. So if we mentally and emotionally prepare for beauty, and prepare for amazing things to happen, and prepare ourselves for goodness and for love and for healing and all that comes with it, we will literally walk into that future. We will literally be walking into the people who can help us, the articles we need to read, the seminars we need to watch. Okay, all of this will happen. And we'll also be able to get the internal dialogue we need. We'll get the energy we need. We'll get, the profound results by saying this and by continuously saying it. No matter how bad we think things get in a day, we always can turn it around. This is the truth. This is human. This is the best part of our humanity and our human nature. The fact that we can change our energy. We haven't been taught it up until now, but you know what? Maybe we were taught it because maybe years ago it was taught, and the idea was say prayers. And when you say prayers, you stay more connected to the God that you learn to worship. For me, it's just God, G-O-D, but for everybody else is different, whether it's Krishna or Buddha, whoever it is that you connect with, or universe, or your own higher power. So the idea is that when we change our energy, when we're in a bad state, we think to pray at that point, we get really low, and then all of a sudden we feel better. Well, this is basically what we're doing. We're literally changing out our negative dialogue into positive. We're believing in something bigger than ourselves. We can take that to the next level, because I believe that if we were given the ability to think and to feel and to create this powerful energy, then we shouldn't be necessarily asking a higher power or God for what we want. We should be demanding of ourselves to walk into that future, just knowing that higher power created the system that would lead and guide us to that. Okay, the system that allows us to do that. And then we can ask for even more guidance, and we can ask for more love to do, we can ask for more power, whatever it is we need to do. But basically, we need to start the ball rolling. We need to be able to do that instead of waiting for a deity to give it to us. We decide how willing we are to walk into that. That's positive manipulation at its finest. Okay? So in order to have the ability to do this, we need the cleanest, healthiest body and to get the clearest positive mind. Because if our mind and our body are not clear and clean, then we will have a harder time manipulating and staying in the positive. Makes sense, right? This is what we've been talking about all this time. So our physical self, and I'm going to move along because it's almost an hour and I really want to be able to open up to questions. So the physical self is basically unstable. It's always going to be unstable because it's always predicated, our stable state is always predicated on what's going on around us and what we put in, what we put out. So we are eating lunch every day, and we're eating dinner, and we're drinking on the weekends. We're doing whatever we're doing, and we're ingesting all this different chemistry into our body, and we're thinking that it's not going to affect our thoughts. If everything's connected and if biochemistry is biochemistry, then why wouldn't everything we eat be affecting us every day, the next day and day after? We eat sugar, it flips us out. We eat whatever it is that we're eating. We really are what we eat. And people just don't get this. So we eat thinking we're going to be fine. Maybe we had calories. Maybe we feel guilty about the food because of the way it makes us look. But we're not really thinking about the way it makes us feel. And it's absolutely 100%. If that's all you're putting in is water, air, and food, the food has to be what your fuel is. And what your fuel is going to dictate what your output is. Okay? We know this. This is simple stuff. But maybe now that you know that your moods might be predicated on it, it might start answering questions like, why do I get angry or agitated and I don't have any reason to be? Or why is my wife crabby when she comes home from work? Or why is my husband always annoyed on Monday, or on Sunday after he's had a bunch to drink on Friday or Saturday night? All right, so the whole idea is that we could just be alerted to our moods and understand and sit and ask, okay, I don't feel very well today, but maybe it's something I ate yesterday. Maybe it's not my life that sucks. Maybe it's my diet. That's a form of positive manipulation, by the way, because we're actually not allowing ourselves to fall into that trap or into that human mind's ego's attempt at thinking that we suck at whatever we do. It's really more about what we put in that may not be giving us the opportunity to stay positive. So it's super important to realize that, okay? So Heather's story, my daughter Heather, when she was about 8 or 9 years old, I got her, maybe less, maybe 7. We got a phone call from her school principal that she was biting children in class. Well, this mortified me. And I went to her and I told the principal right away, I'll get her therapy, I'll do whatever I have to do. And I didn't think it was the divorce because the divorce was already gone on like 4 years. So it wasn't new to her. But I literally went to her and said, Heather, what's going on? And she said, Mommy, I don't know. I just had to do it. I don't know why. And she was squeezing her hands and she was so upset and she was crying about it and she was mortified at her own behavior, but she couldn't control it. So at the time I was seeing a biochemical nutritionist named Dr. Doolin, and I had just gotten my blood work done. I submitted to him. He was showing me what, was going on in my body and what foods were helping me and whatever. And I said, all right, let me get her blood work done and I'll take you to the therapist as well, but I might as well take her too if I'm going to start doing this for myself, I might as well do it for her. So we got her blood work done. I made an appointment with Doc Doolin, and I didn't tell him why I was going with her. I just showed up with the blood work in hand. I knew what to get her already, what to ask the doctor for. And he took one look at her blood work and he said, whoa, my, she's a little Spartic girl. He's a real crazy kind of personality, very wild-eyed guy. And he said, she's a Spartic. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, well, I'm going to ask you a question. Is she a little aggressive? And I'm like, yeah. I said, we're here because she's like biting kids in school. He says, well, I can understand why. He says, let me ask you another question. Is she eating a lot of chicken? And I said, Doc, I'm a single mother. She eats chicken morning, noon, and night. Chicken fingers, chicken wings, chicken nuggets. I said, I buy a big chicken, once, twice a week. I said, she's eating a ton of chicken. He said, well, let me tell you what's going on. He said, the chicken creates aspartic acid in the body. Aspartic acid is an uptake for testosterone. Testosterone in little girls is not a good thing. And I remembered, actually, that my friends who bodybuild, they would eat a lot of chicken in the end because they try to stay lean. And so in an attempt to stay lean, they would eat chicken like so many times, they would get so aggressive. And we always thought it was just the lack of, regular food because they just were not eating that much. But truth be told, it was most likely the chicken. So the doctor tells me, just give her turkey, fill it in with turkey, maybe give her chicken twice a week. Call me in a week, let me know how it goes. Sure enough, she never bit another kid. She calmed down. She didn't have that horrible need or that surging kind of anger or whatever it was that she had going on inside of her. That food was actually precursing that need. And instead, she was able to calmly resolve her anger issues and whatever else was going on in her emotional state. And some of that did have to do with the divorce, by the way. So the idea, though, that she was becoming something other than who she was literally turning into what everybody was saying was the bullying class. So it lifted her self-esteem to know what was going on with her physical state that was creating these negative emotions. So now from that, this is many years ago, she's now 29 years old. You can see her beautiful picture of her just recently, actually. She's a PA. She's been changing her diet and paying attention to her biochemical, intake since she was a little girl. In fact, she was probably the only kid at that age who knew the difference between a protein and a carb. But she also went on the track of the medical profession, and she has this whole amount of history and information to back up her practice now so that she can help other people. All right. And I think that all therapists, every single medical practitioner should know about food and the potential. She may be very sensitive to food chemistry, so am I. Neither one of us can even eat cranberries or drink cranberry juice without feeling like we want to bite people. So like different things could cause different reactions in your body. You need to seek that out and find that out for yourself. But the point is just to be aware that it may not be you who's so pissy. Okay, it may be that you're reacting to a past trauma, you're reacting to the food that you're eating, to the alcohol you're taking in, or whatever it is. So that's the part of positive manipulation that's so wonderful. We literally lift ourselves up because we find out that biochemistry can dictate our moods, like aggression, fear, anxiety. It can trigger sudden shifts in our moods too, like that. Like all of a sudden you'd be fine, and then one minute, and the next minute you're like really upset or even crying. Okay, it can inhibit our ability to take responsibility for our actions too. Like my daughter, she didn't know that it was making her do it, so she felt out of control. And this happens with us. This happens with everybody. And it can control our minds and how we think. It literally takes over the process for us, which is kind of weird. But hey, let's just face it. If a pill like Prozac, all right, can make us feel a certain way and make us feel balanced because of an imbalance in our brain chemistry, then what are the chances of the chemistry we're taking in a day? Like the plates and mounds of food and chemicals and carcinogenics and everything else that we're putting in, even just regular basic food chemistry, because hey, broccoli is a chemical on a plate. Then what's the potential for all of that to make us feel like crazy in the first place, or out of balance in the first place, or depressed, or whatever else it is that we're feeling, extreme anxiety. So the idea is that we have to be able to think about what's going in order to understand what we're producing, all right? So let's talk about past trauma and past traumatic episodes. We call it PSTD or PDD. They can become stuck in our organs and our myofascial tissue. Okay, this is another aspect of our physical body that we don't realize is going on. There's a connective tissue from top to bottom called the myofascia, and our negativity could actually be stemming from there, because every single episode that we encounter has the potential to like sort of leave its trace in us. And so we might actually be reacting out of something like that, and that's in the physical body. So a negative emotions like hate, unforgiveness, and resentment, physical symptoms and signs like GI discomfort, body aches and pains, headaches, natural emotions like anxiety, fear, and anger. Those are our spiritual gifts, but we can flip them on ourselves if they get compulsed. And then instincts are human and spiritual reactions, your inner peace, or uneasiness or knowingness. We have all these different things that start coming in and start affecting us. And so that can play out in our physical body way more than we realize. All right, so now we've been through the mental, the emotional, and the physical. Here's the spiritual, just to give you an idea of what's going on there. What's the difference between religion and spirituality? Real quick, religion is something that we follow. Spirituality is something that we are. How easy is that? So our minds will lead us towards certain kinds of religions that resonate with us. Maybe they resonate on a spiritual level. Okay. Maybe they just are what makes sense. Maybe that's what we're brought up with. Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you worship or what you worship, or even if you don't worship. The idea is that you are a spiritual being, no matter what you think. It's just there. You're part energy, spiritual energy. And so you are connecting with other people, and you're connecting with whatever's bigger than you are as well, the earth and so on. So if you believe that in a certain deity, and you believe in God or whatever, and you pray to someone and your religion is about that, that's great, because you have that higher knowing already. But what if you don't? What if you don't necessarily understand it? And what if you don't know if there's a God or anything else in existence? I'm here to tell you that whatever God would have created us, who is unconditional loving, might not necessarily not about caring, but might not necessarily blame you for not understanding, because obviously that deity would already know you. Okay, if it's all knowing, it would obviously be caring and forgiving if it made you human, because you can't fail at being human. You are. So at whatever stage you're at in your life, whether you believe in something or you don't believe in something, it don't matter. You can still use these principles. Okay. And to be honest, every time I've turned someone on to the positive manipulation process, it's guide them to a spiritual essence, a higher knowing, a higher power. Even scientists can't disprove God. They go trying to disprove it, and they figure out that there is a higher power, because it doesn't make any sense there not to be. But it doesn't mean that you have to pick a certain form of religion. I'm not here to lead and guide you to that or take you away from yours. I'm here to say that the spiritual side of us is so important, but we don't stay in the goodness unless we decide to stay in the goodness. Okay. It's always there. It's always a part of us, but we can turn our head. We can go right to the ego human side of ourselves every single time if we don't stay spiritually in tune with that higher knowing. So why does it take so long to tap into our own spiritual selves? This is what we've been talking about this whole entire time. What is preventing us from being there? But let's talk about how we can get back in, okay? It is my understanding that our left side of our brain is our analytical, mathematical, where we have language, where we're calculating, where we're spinning, where our ego is, where we're like thinking, where we're judging, where we're doing all that. But the right side of the brain, it's like visual and auditory processing, but it's spatial skills and artistic ability and all the things that we need to stay really, truly in dream state, I believe that is where we're literally hearing from the soul's voice. We're literally able to tap in and gain way more insight and inspiration from that side of the brain. So if we were to split ourselves down the middle, it would make sense that it was the left side was probably more ego human and the right side was more spiritually sensed. And it's important to remember that, because when you're spinning, you can literally look at yourself and split yourself down the middle and understand that you're only using part of yourself. You're not into power at all, because you're just spinning in negativity or whatever kind of thought process or emotional state you're in. And you'll know that you're not in soul when you don't feel good, when you don't feel positive, when you can't picture anything better than the moment that you're in, which is not feeling good. So the second that you decide to come out of that, you're already in soul. You're already in spiritual side. You're already tapped in. You're already there. At this point, you just have to hold on to it. You could ask for inspiration. What do I need to think right now? What can pull me out? What can I read? What can I listen to? And we're going to go over all that in a second, because all of it will make a difference in our lives. So we all, by the way, using both our hemispheres all the time. It's not like we're separated. But when we're only thinking with one side of our brain, we will understand and feel negative. And when we're using our right brain and allowing for that goodness to come in, we are definitely popping into right, okay? So meditation is one way that people think that they need to go to be able to get in touch with themselves. And believe it or not, people think it's like this whole process. We have to sit there for 20 minutes and get blank and all that. But you can meditate in your garden. You can meditate while you're washing dishes, taking a shower. You can literally be meditating while you're online with me right now, which is okay, by the way, because maybe that's a better way for you to absorb this. Who knows? I'm not going to prejudge it. The point is that in meditation, when in a meditative state, we are downloading so much information, and we're just letting go of that ego side, that yappity 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 dog, and allowing for the beautiful inspiration to come in. We can go into a meditative state like that as soon as we decide. We can say, like, I do Q&A meditation, ask a question, get an answer. I'll say, okay, soul, inspire me. And I'll wait for inspiration. Believe it or not, I'm doing something. So it's my type A personality doesn't feel bad for sitting there waiting for inspiration to come in. But just by doing that, I'm literally trying to empty my brain to receive. And just that intention actually helps. Okay. There's a lot of different ways to meditate too. We're not going to go into all of them tonight, because basically tonight is just about positive manipulation and understanding the process. Okay. So there's a beautiful saying that I heard from Sri Chinmoy. There's a beautiful story behind it, but I don't have time tonight to tell you, but I will tell you another time, because it is an amazing story. But he said, prayer is when we talk to God, he said, and meditation is when we listen. So if it's not God for you, if it's just higher knowing or higher power or omnipotent energy out there, whatever it is, the infinite wisdom, doesn't matter. The idea is that you can literally ask that question, okay, inspire me, I'm open, I'm willing, I'm ready. And then in the opposite end of that would be listening to it. Okay, so we're not creating that thought, we're actually allowing it to come in and giving the credit to the powers that be for filling us up with this, instead of thinking it's all us. For a while, when I was doing positive manipulation years ago, I was like getting so smart, I was like hearing things, and I was like, yeah, I was knew things before they were happening. I was like, wow, I actually thought my IQ was increasing. I took like 4 IQ tests, and it's still the same as high school, but I was getting genius coming into my head from other sources. And I always connected it to God, but my intention was to be better and do better and be a better mother and be better at being a co-parent. And so because I was doing that, I was getting filled with wisdom to be able to do that. That's how the process works. If you have a child who's sick and you're in anxiety, you can't hear wisdom. You need to believe in yourself and the powers that be, and believe in your child to heal. And then ask, what do I need to do today? And you will hear, you will be inspired with what you can do. And it will work. I promise you. We do this all the time with clients. And it's a tremendous gift that we have that we just don't utilize. Okay. And let's go to the next slide. I don't know why. There we go. So the space between our humanness and soulfulness, this is what we're trying to go for. This is where we're trying to reach in that split second when we're able to hear. It's in that space in between. Okay, we can consider that tranquility, where all is calm. And it's just like that still water that you're looking at. And when the mind and body fails us, we can always rely on that soul essence. So even if we are not in a tranquil state of being, the whole idea is to get there by just requesting it. The positive manipulation process starts when we make that choice. Okay, it's just a choice. At that moment of the choice comes in, the rest of our humanity takes over. Body, mind, and soul sort of works together. And we just have to keep holding on to that positive notion and that idea that we need to keep in the love and stay in the goodness. And that's what really helps us. So we have a few more slides to go. I'm hoping everybody's still with me. I can't tell if you are, but I'll just assume that some are with me, and we're going to open up to questions very soon. The idea now is to get over ourselves mentally, We want to master our minds, and we want to use all the different forms. Now, all these forms are pretty much the same for all of our different aspects, but prayers and mantras, we talked about all this, meditation, learning something new, to continuously learn as we get older. We need to keep doing this because it creates new synapses in our brain, and that helps override our negative. We just keep on doing it. Makes us super strong. I was recently led to do this, which is spinning one finger one way and spinning another the other way. This actually is very hard to do. It looks really easy right now, but try it. No, I'm not spinning in the same direction. I'm spinning opposite directions, each hand. Try it. Try it when you're, wanting to just do something crazy to let go of your negativity. You'll see that you can set yourself straight. It literally gets your brain like kind of organized. Writing is a super powerful tool to help get all of those worries out onto paper. Throw it out, burn it, do whatever you got to do, put it down the shredder, and then set your mind straight. You can also write down your goals to make them more clear. More clarity is perfect for that moment when you're actually going towards the negative. Games. Oh my gosh, do I love my games. I mean, I'm talking just anything from solitaire and card games all the way through to Sudoku, I think it's called, right? And anything else that uses the brain to help stay in power mode and to create those new synapses as well. Intentions, creating positive intentions. We talked about declaring, where I said you state your declaration of what you want. Don't ask for it, demand it. I am is what you need to say. Then nature. Nature can right our wrongs. We need to get to the beach. We need to go into the dirt. We need to take our shoes off and literally plant our feet into the ground, because we are made of the same powerful nutrients and minerals as the earth. The earth gives off what's called a negative ions, and it supercharges our body when we connect, okay? It rights the wrongs. This is scientifically proven. It's not Donna Martini saying it. Just take your shoes off and do it. You could meditate while you're out there. I sit on a rock. I put my feet in the dirt, barefoot, and I literally will do my meditation like that, even 5 minutes. You can't even imagine the rest of my day when I do that, okay? And music, of course, music always changes our mind, but try to remember that what you're listening to is super important. So there's megahertz music that has no words, that helps set the body. You can find them on YouTube. There's also music that lifts you up. I know K-Love is a Christian station that promises if you listen to them a month, you'll change your life. Well, I did it. It actually did really lift me up, and it really did change a lot for me. So even if you're not a Christian, you can still listen to the music. It's still uplifting, and it reminds you of the power that you have to change your circumstances, change your mind, change your body, change your life. Set a goal, then acknowledge the motive. The goal is something you want to achieve. The motive is the reason why. A lot of times, if we don't create a motive, there's no oomph for the goal. My motive when I was creating positive manipulation was to be the best mom I could be for the sake of my kids. That was the motive. And that's what helped me through even when I had no self-esteem, to help myself. So it was a super powerful, supercharged goal. And it literally really brought in everything that I'm talking to you about now. Everything that led me to this point today, where I've written 3 books about it and studied and researched all over the place, even when around the world, tried to find out more information and to glean the energy I needed to get to this point today, to be able to talk to you about this and help you understand your own power, okay? We have to understand our consciousness of deserving. So if you do not believe you deserve the life that we're talking about right now, you don't believe you deserve healing, you don't believe that, then you've got to understand something. We're only going to receive what you think you're worthy of receiving. So change your mind about worthiness. It doesn't matter what went on in the past. Everything that went on in the past is done. The only thing that matters is what you're willing to do right now moving forward. You were a schmuck in your past. Okay, you're deciding at this moment you're never going to be a schmuck again. Fine. You're going to forgive yourself for what you did in the past, and you're going to literally move forward, becoming the best person you can be. And in that moment, every single thing you do, you deserve back, okay, which is all goodness. If you do good, you get good. You might not get it from the person you're doing good to, but you will, overall, it will bless you in many, many ways. So that's what you keep thinking about. I am worthy to receive because I am willing to give. That's all you need to remember, okay? And this is something that I really thought helpful for me for a while, and I used it. Called it the SUI. It's a snap out of it. So if you wanted to try to help yourself snap out of negative emotions, you can put a bracelet on, put something on, because when you physically feel something, that snap, it literally changes the direction of your thought process. So it's all works. Another meditation, everything that you have and all the brilliance in your mind, you could tap into it once you are able to let go. And getting over ourselves emotionally is mastering our emotions. We, again, same things, prayers, meditation, healing from past traumas. If you don't heal from the past, you're bringing it with you every single day. Every single minute of every single day, you may be reacting over stuff that happened to you in the past. We're talking from your childhood all the way through. I know it's easier said than done, but believe me, if you decide to be the best you can be and you decide to just get over everything that's held you back, you will be led and guided to exactly what you need to do to heal. Set that intention, okay? Ho'oponopono is a magnificent prayer. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. 4 phrases that'll change your life. We're going to do a whole seminar on that alone. I do it every day. Again, writing, getting those emotions out, letting yourself freely write whatever it is that you need to write and allow it to come through so you can see your own issues that you need to get over, or writing your emotions down to someone else. I feel, I am, write it all down, and then don't send it out to the person until it's perfect, until it's loving. But that's one way where we can get our feelings and emotions out if we can't express them. The I am declarations, just say it. I am healed. I did it. I said I am healed and I got healed. I might have been lying when I first said it. I might not have been really believing it when I first said it, but I kept on saying it. And I kept on watching the videos from JoeDispenza and doing what I had to do. And lo and behold, I was letting guided to everything I needed. I was letting guided to the old belief systems being erased. I was letting guided to the emotions I needed to heal from. All of it happened. It wasn't just that I became healed. It led me on a journey of healing. And just stating that I was healed forced me into that future. It forced me on that journey of discovery. And that discovery every minute of every day led me to more and more things I could do to literally heal. That's the way it works, folks. How easy is that? Of course, mantras. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to promote my book. Why not? Because it helps. And it's a cheap way. It's like nothing compared to what we go through in our lifetime, right? And the money we spend on so many different facets of healing. But yet this is something we can do for $10 and we'll have it for the rest of our lives, right? Of course, again, nature and music, all of this works. So we have to remember where all our emotions are stemming from, the physical, emotional, and mental. We have to realize all the things that we can do to heal. Some of them are EMDR, NEAT, hypnosis, acupuncture, all trauma therapies. They will release us so that we can stay more positive for longer periods of time. We have the Enneagram at our disposal. All these things, by the way, nothing you need to know now. I'm going to be doing a seminar on every single one of them. So these are all follow-up seminars that we're going to be doing. But for now, we're just going to just throw it out to you. This one is super important, just taking responsibility for everything we attract, because when we take responsibility, we can now take control. When we take control, we can create change. There's a whole seminar on this, folks. Everything to do with positive manipulation means we need to take responsibility for the state we're in right now, the state of being we're in. There could be reasons why we ended up here, but it's our responsibility, not fault or blame, but our responsibility to get ourselves out and to take control, all right? And this is the most important thing you'll learn in your entire life. Unfortunately, many people don't learn it ever. But if you do, your whole life will change in a most beautiful way. Getting over ourselves physically, mastering our bodies, as we said, exactly the same things as before. Why? Because everything in our mind affects our body. Whatever is in our body affects our mind and our emotions. And spiritually speaking, okay, is the only way we're going to get back to balance. That's the way it is. Don't underestimate dance. Don't underestimate feeling good, even getting out, getting your family, turning on the radio and just blasting it and just moving your body and understanding that everything you're doing to move your body is helping to reorganize all of those energies that may be stuck and trapped in your body and everything else. Okay? Feng Shui, everything that's surrounding you is affecting you. Everything in your life is showing in your house, in your space. Feng Shui the crap out of it. Just pick up anything and hold it in your hand and say, is this positive or negative? Do I feel good looking at this every day, or is it not good? Sell it, give it away, paint it, do whatever you have to do to your environment, because your environment is making it harder for you to get positive, or it's making it easier for you to get positive. It's up to you to figure out what that means. Of course, we're going to have a whole seminar on that too, so don't worry. And then, of course, our physical appearance. If we don't have that I looking in the mirror, feeling that we like the way we look, we like our presentation. We have to be clean and neat, and we have to feel good about ourselves. I know for me, if I do my nails, and I blow dry my hair, I feel like a whole different person. It sounds crazy to say that that's just such a little thing, but it really does work, and it helps keep me stay more positive, more grounded, more professional. I want to come on and talk to you more when I feel good about myself and when my hair comes out okay. And this is silly, but most women will understand this, but we need to present ourselves in the best light possible, because that's going to reflect to what other people are going to be treating us. And we want that backwards energy to be good as it can be, right? Okay, and getting over ourselves spiritual, there is no getting over ourselves spiritually. It's just tapping into our soul. That's when we get over ourselves, that's when we're finally able to tap in. And that's split second. It's actually there before we even need it. It's already there. It's just a matter of us saying no to the ego and yes to the soul. And again, how do we get tapping in? Same exact way as we did before with all the other aspects of ourselves. It's all the same. Simple, basic, silly, simple, and basic. Okay? So what's the definition of arrogance? I'm going to let you guess this. Most people don't guess it. It's a 5-letter word, and it starts with a G. Okay? And the absence of grace. So our arrogance is we're in our human side, and we think that we know it all right? But actually, it's the opposite. We know nothing. And if we keep on saying, give me grace, give me grace, give me grace, we will actually come to that moment where we realize, as powerful as we can be, we're still nothing without that grace. We're still nothing without that ability to let go. Because we couldn't possibly know all there is. We couldn't possibly know everything about everybody. Even if we did a great job, even if we're an expert in our field and had 10 PhDs, we don't know it all, do we? But we can tap into that, especially when it comes to figuring out our own blocks and issues. So when we ask, to be graced with information, we should accept that we don't know everything, and then just allow it to flow. Allow it to flow. Okay, so all of our goals and actions need to be as loving and as powerful and positive as you can be. That will help us stay into the soul. Believing and recognizing that we're getting direction when we do ask for it. No, you're not smarter. It really is information. It's getting downloaded, and it's like an all-knowingness. They call it claircognizance. And it's very powerful, and it's your gift. So use it. Everybody has it too. So don't think you don't. Learning how to move beyond our pain and discomfort and our negative habits and fears and our anger, anxieties, and all those different things. Because this is what we're doing. We're saying yes to all that's good, and saying no, I'd rather not experience that. Let me heal from it, learn from it, and do what I got to do and move beyond. Okay. And this is the very last slide. And this is the very most important thing we need to do in our lives, because this keeps so many people back. And that is forgiveness of ourselves, and most especially people who've hurt us in our lives. If we don't get rid of unforgiveness, we can't really fill up with the good stuff. It just doesn't happen for us, okay? So with that said, I'm going to end screen sharing. I'm going to escape here, and I'm going to go to our sponsor. Oh, there she is. So what do you think, Charity? Did we go over everything we needed to go over?
I think you did, Donna. I think it was fantastic. And I can't tell, well, I can tell the story because you worked with me through some things, some really deep, rooted things just recently. And it was easier for me to get to that root with you coaching me, I can say. And I have to attribute being able to get there fully to find out what that was and to heal that and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say that I teach people to be their own coach. I don't want anyone to have to be reliant on anyone else, especially when they have those innate qualities and gifts. But everybody has to learn them, And also there are certain traumas that are just so inbred and so deep and so stuck, and so for so long that it may need another loving person to help pop it out, and we work better together. In fact, in the Bible, it says where two or more are gathered in my name, I am there. And I always love that saying, because if you believe in God or not, it doesn't matter, because the power of the energy is still there. When two or more are together for the same purpose, we're definitely twice as powerful, right? So you utilize my energy and you can help yourself pop out. And this is why no man is an island, where that saying is we have to become connected to each other like this. This is what we're made to do, to share.
Agreed. And I also have a mini book of mighty mantras, and I have to read because this mantra it pertains to my situation and what you helped me heal. So I'd like to read it, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Mental and emotional distress can lead to physical disease, but we don't have to let that happen. Mentally speaking, we are not beholden to negative feelings. They don't have to own us, but we do need to own up to them. When we set our intention to reach harmony in our mind, body, and soul, then the root causes of our negativity will be revealed to us. After we accept what needs to change, we can request healing, and the subsequent steps we need to take will become obvious. And the mantra is achieving harmony.
All right, so out of 396 mantras, you picked the perfect one for this session. I mean, that's very serendipitous. I did not ask you to do that.
No.
And I didn't even think to pick a mantra for tonight. So it was perfect for positive manipulation.
Yes.
I mean, it just summed up the whole entire thing.
Absolutely.
So you were on the other end and you saw people coming in and out. Was there anybody who had questions, and is anybody requesting to come on and be live with us?
Well, let me check. I didn't see anything before, but I will take a look.
Want to be able to help people live, and if there's any questions. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of information, and I don't expect people to really be able to absorb it all in one shot. I see you and I see me.
I see you, and you're behind me as well.
So do we have any questions at all? Because if not, we can always go and come back another time.
Well, I want to tell you, we are live on Facebook, so I've been monitoring there. Let me check. I don't have any in the group here, but I'll check Facebook.
Were we able to get live on Facebook on the event?
Yes.
You're kidding.
No, it's pinned.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well,
yeah.
That's good. I hope the people who were signed up were able to get it. On the event?
Yes.
Oh. You're kidding.
So it's pinned. Well,
I see that.
Okay, I'm just checking for questions.
Sure.
No, but you did have comments. There are some comments in there, so I'm sure you'll want to go take a look at that as well. You have a lot of fans of the Ho'oponopono prayer.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. Whole seminar on that. I'm going to bring an expert on to do that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would just be better to bring the expert on.
But I am not seeing so far. I'm not seeing any questions here.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. So maybe we'll just sign off for now. And anybody who wants to get in touch with me can get in touch through Donna at DonnaMartini.com. And that's martini like the drink, obviously. And you can also, message me on Facebook if you need to, if you're watching from Facebook. And I answer lots and lots of people's questions. I'm not about, charging everybody money for my services all the time. I absolutely help people. I like to really work through businesses, and so I can still keep helping people individually. Because for me, it's more about sharing the love, right, Charity? It just feels so good when you can help somebody. It feels like you win the lottery when you can help someone. So I want to put that out there. And again, you can buy the book on Amazon. It's available there. And if anybody needs seminars, they want to do it in their place of business, their company wants to hire me, that'll be great. If you work for a not-for-profit, you get them for free. If you're out of the state, it's okay. We can do it this way through Zoom. But if you're local, I love to come and share all the information I've learned. So Charity, thank you. Now tell everybody about your business, because this is what you're going to be doing for people.
Yes. I just want to be able to create webinars for people like Donna who are passionate about helping humanity help themselves in a positive and a caring way, and providing a safe space and elevating them to be able to do so. And you can find me at themightycreator.com. I do web design, maintenance. I also do some social media management, and then video, webinar, and live event production. Just made easy, just so if you don't want to worry about all the hassle, I can do that legwork for you. One thing I do want to show really quick, I'm just going to share my desktop with you guys so you can see, because Donna, I don't remember if she told you, but Donna she illustrated this entire book. She obviously it's all her work, but she did all of the illustrations, and they're just absolutely fantastic. Go to
Well,
monstermouse.com.
I have to give credit to the person who actually helped me, because I might have designed Mantra Mouse, but the real creator, her name was Cheryl Edwards, and she died of breast cancer right in the middle of our work together. And she was a dear friend for many years. And of course, she could always pull out of me what I wanted. Like I could draw a drawing, and it was nowhere near as cute as what she could make it. But she could almost read my mind, and I've lost her, and I've lost like a part of myself when it comes to my when it comes to being, she was my muse. So now I have somebody I work with in Hungary and somebody I work with in California, and I had to get better at drawing because they can't envision as well, but that's okay. And they were able to copy some of her work, and now I just do the drawings. One day I'll show everybody my drawing book, because you can see how they go from the way I create it to the computer format. It's pretty intense, because I don't draw as well as the computer does, but I have so much fun doing it. Charity, if I could just sit by a lake or a body of water all day and just do cartoons, that would be my dream.
Well,
Totally. It may happen one day.